What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about air intakes. Hopefully by the end of this video we'll be able to decide if an aftermarket air intake is even worth it. What we're going to do is take off the stock air intake on this car and replace it with this one. It's actually a DIY kit of some sort. To be honest with you, I don't exactly know the origins, but when I bought this car it came with it. Before we install this though, we'll go over a few reasons why someone would even put an aftermarket air intake on their car. The first and most common reason why I know people want to put an aftermarket intake is because they want their car to go fast like this one. The reality is a little bit different though. When you have a stock engine and you put an intake on it, you're going to see little to no gains, and I know there are some companies that will claim you see 5-10 horsepower gains, and the reality of it is I don't have a dyno to disprove that, but 5 to 10 horsepower in the grand scheme of things is going to be very negligible, and I would find it hard to believe that someone's going to feel that difference in their butt dyno, so to speak. Now there's two major circumstances that come to mind when someone would see performance gains. The first one is, let's just say my car was a turbo MR2. For the record, it's an NA, so it has the 5S, not the 3S. But let's say I had a turbo MR2 and I did a full intake exhaust and got the car tuned. In that situation, I would definitely see some type of power gain. As to how much, it's really going to vary. There's so many factors in that, such as what parts you use, who tuned your car, so on and so on. So definitely possible, but I think in most cases it's going to take more than just an air intake, as in most stock cars the airflow is not going to be the restricting factor. The second case where you're going to see an improvement with a intake change, I would say, is like when you have a highly modified car. Good example is this. Let's say I had this tiny intake on this car. That would be a bottleneck and definitely hurt my power. Now if I put this, which for the record is exactly what I run on the car, it should help the engine breathe more. To be clear, I am grossly oversimplifying everything, but the basic gist of it is, if you have a stock engine and just put a air intake on it, you're not going to see any gains, and if you do, it's going to be really negligible. So with that being said, you're going to ask, why would you put an intake? Well, there's two reasons I can think of then. Reason number one is pretty simple. From a aesthetic standpoint, putting an aftermarket intake can make the engine bay look a lot nicer. Reason number two is equally simple. It's all about the noises. Depending on the intake, it could possibly make more noise, which makes a greater visceral experience. And for some cars, making that right noise makes all the difference in the world. I feel like that's especially true when you have a mid-engine car and you can hear that engine screaming. Now we're going to go install this to see if A, it looks that much better in the engine bay, and then B, how much better it makes the car sound. Although I gotta admit, those things are subjective and I'm a little biased. Quickly though, I do want to talk about this intake. It was made by someone, I have no idea, and it's like some DIY ghetto thing. As you can see here, the back of the intake, it's horribly cut. It has a hanger here that's just like drilled in with like sheetrock screws or something like that. So it's definitely not the best thing. Oh, also it's missing a hole for the air intake temperature sensor. So that's the reason I've never run it, but I think for the purposes of our video of just seeing how the engine bay looks and how the car sounds, it will do. Alright guys, now that I got the stock intake out, I wanted to talk about something real quick. So right here is the entryway. Right here is the exit. Oops, there's the bolts still in there. I'll have to pick those up in a second. But as you can see, here's where the air goes in and then it comes up and out through here. Something I did want to mention is the fact that the entrance is actually right there at the side air vent on this car. So that's really good. It essentially just shoehorns it in there, and you're getting nice colder air in comparison to just drawing in air from the hot engine bay, which you don't want to do. So here now we got some of the stock piping, and what we're going to do is pretty simple. This right here attaches to the throttle body. This other end should attach to the stock air box. Instead, what it's going to do is attach here with this silicone coupler, and we're just going to tighten it on down Over here for support, it has a little bracket, so I guess I'm just gonna grab like a zip tie or something, and that should do for our purposes. All right, guys, we got it all installed. So as you guys can see, the piping's here. It's held in place by a zip tie, which is definitely not the right way to do that. I got the air intake temperature sensor out of the way, zip tied there. All right, guys, we're gonna go do a little pull to see if the induction noise is worth it. So for a comparison, I'm gonna dig up some old videos of me doing a pull in this car, and then I'll do another pull so we can see that sound difference. I really hope the camera picks it up. Oh. All right. This is giving it all the sauce here. Yeah, that's definitely louder at the higher RPMs. There's no doubt about that. At the low to mid, it sounds about the same compared to stock. Now that we've driven the car, I'll give you guys my thoughts, and I have two trains of thoughts. So the first one is performance. In terms of performance, I actually think the air intake or any type of intake definitely has its place. The big thing is making sure you're using a quality part, you know, so you want to make sure it does stuff like not sucking air next to the headers or something like that. That's not going to do you any good. And also you want to make sure you do the supporting mods. That way everything will work as a cohesive unit to get the best possible output. Now there is the second thing, or second thought I had, and that's in terms of like the looks and sound. I totally think it's worth it based off of that alone. Like for my car specifically, it has this really cool induction sound at the high RPM. I hope the camera picked it up, but I'm not sure if it did. And that alone makes it worth it. I also do think it can make the engine bay look better and cleaner. It just depends on obviously what type of setup you have. I fully admit the janky intake I have is not ideal and does not look good. So in a nutshell, I would definitely say, yeah, go for it. Get an intake if you want. If you're looking for the looks and sound, just understand the intake alone is not going to give you any notable amount of performance. With that being said, guys, I do understand that this is a very subjective subject, so there's probably a million different viewpoints on this, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. And if you're looking for an intake for a 5SFE, I've personally never bought one off of eBay, but I know other people who have, and I can say if you go to eBay, Google MR2 5SFE cold air intake, you can probably find one, or correction, you can find one. They're like $75, $80, I think. Someone will definitely, you'll have to double check that before you buy. So guys, I'm gonna go put the stock intake back on my car because the other one I have is really janky, and to be honest with you, I don't even know why I have it still. It's been like 4 years since I bought the car and it's been sitting in my garage. So I'm probably gonna throw it in the trash. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video.